Hi there, my name is Ashley and I am a knitter from Vancouver Island in Canada, and welcome to my podcast. If you're new, welcome. I talk a lot about fiber arts, mostly knitting, some sewing, and then some spinning here and there. And if you are returning, welcome back. So today I figured we could do a little bit of a WIP down. I just wanted to remind you that if you enjoy videos like these, please like and subscribe so that you don't miss out on any future videos that I may make. Something new that has happened since my last video is I now have an official website. So I'll put it down here below. It's the same as my handle everywhere. So it's designbysewandsew.com. And if you want to subscribe to my newsletter, I will be putting out testing calls through that newsletter. So I don't plan on sending out emails often. I don't have the energy for that. And you probably don't want to be seeing me in your inbox that often. So I'm thinking maybe no more than once a month where I might put out a testing call or announce a pattern release. But if you want to be kept up to date, feel free to subscribe there so that you don't miss out. And then as always, anything that I talk about today will be in the show notes below. There'll be links there. And I do have a Ko-fi, I never know how to pronounce that, account, and a Ravelry wish list if you want to be so kind as to gift me a coffee or a pattern. No pressure, it's not necessary at all, but it is always appreciated. All right, so let's get into our WIP down. Today's episode is going to be a little different. The new year kind of got me thinking about projects, what I want to be working on this year, and projects from past years that I don't necessarily want to carry on into this year. I'm going to be looking over here at my notes on what the projects are, and I have a stack of projects that I'll be grabbing from. So what got me started kind of thinking about these old WIPs is I pulled out an old project that I talked about on my last video. It's the piece by piece blanket, and it had been sitting around for, I can't remember, it was 3 or 4 years, and I just got very motivated to finish it. This is the year that it's going to be finished. Blankets are always they're very slow for me because they're so big and I lose steam, and then I just, kind of set them aside and they'll sit for years and years. So I finally picked up the piece by piece blanket. I finished all the squares and I am just piecing it together now. So it's very, very close to being done. I'll give you just a quick little peek at that, but I'm not going to talk about it on this episode. And then we'll head into other old WIPs that I wanted to pull out and just reevaluate and see if they're even worth it to keep working on, or if I should just frog them. Okay, the piece by piece blanket. I'm gonna grab it here. All right, this is the biggest section that I have pieced together. It's going to be 9 by 7, so like 7 squares across and then 9 down. And I've been joining them into rows and then joining the rows by crocheting. So this project is going to be a WIP no more, which I'm very excited about. That motivated me to pull out some other older projects. So let's get started. So I would love your feedback. If you have any opinions, I want to hear them. If you think it's ugly, if you think it's just not going to work, or if you think it's salvageable, let me know. Or if I should frog it, what I could use the yarn for, other project ideas, I would love to hear from you. So please let me know. All right, in no particular order, I'm going to just pull these out. Let's start with this one here. Okay, this one I started, when was it? This one I started, I think it was in the summer of last year. So this is my Tessellated Cardigan. The pattern's by Andrea Mowry. It is meant to be knit on 3.5 millimeter needles, but I always have to go down a needle size for Andrea Mowry. Yeah, I do. And so these ones are, I'm using US 3s or 3.25 millimeter needles with sport weight yarn, and it's a mosaic pattern. So all of that means it's very slow going. It takes a long time to show some progress because with mosaic knitting, you're slipping stitches, so your row progress is just a lot slower, and then the small needles too mean that you've got a lot of stitches on each row. I love the look of this cardigan on other people. I love like the general kind of look of these little boxes, squares. Yeah, I love the look of this cardigan. I think that it looks great. I just don't think that I chose the right kind of yarn. So I'll tell you a little bit about what I'm using here. For my main color, I have this thrifted yarn that I bought off of Poshmark quite a few years ago. I think it was dyed by the owner. It's like this really dark teal. I have some thrifted mohair, and then I'm using spin cycle dyed in the wool for the color changing. The spin cycle yarn is a bougie yarn. This is the first time that I had purchased it, and I kind of wanted my project that I used it into to be worn, to be appreciated, because this is a fancy yarn. So yeah, I wanted to actually use it. But I think the problem is with this yarn here. So as I've been knitting it up, every now and then it just breaks. Sometimes even on the next row, like I'll be knitting with it, and then on the next row when I insert my needle into that loop, it just disintegrates. Like the fibers just completely pull apart, which is really strange to me, and it makes me wonder, like it doesn't look like it's moth eaten or anything like that, but it makes me wonder if maybe because it was dyed at home, maybe the dyes kind of like compromised the fibers, or maybe it was on too high of heat in certain spots, and so yeah, it's falling apart, which has been really annoying. So what I had been doing, oh, see, it just like totally ripped there. What I had been doing when I was knitting this was I would pull out a bit from the ball, and I would kind of test it. I would kind of like tug at it and be like, okay, it's not going to rip for this section. Oh, see, it rips there. So I would knit like a bit of the stronger part of the yarn, and then continue on. Like there was just so many ends. There was so many broken ends, and I was just worried about like the integrity of the fabric from using this yarn. I kind of plugged along though, like I don't know why. I kept going for quite a while. Yeah, so I got to the point basically where I'll be making decreases for the shoulder sections, and then I held it up to my body and kind of tested it out, and even though this isn't blocked, I think it's a little too small. I did size down. Typically I make a size 3 with Andrea Mowry's patterns, but I sized down to a size 2 because I thought, oh, I knit looser than her. I don't know what I was thinking in sizing down in my needles and sizing down the actual size of the pattern that it was going to fit me. So I'll put up a video of me trying it on, but you can see, even though it needs a button band, it seems really tight when I pull it around my waist. And I don't think that blocking is going to kind of like make this grow too much width-wise. So my consensus is the terrible yarn that keeps breaking and it's too small kind of are telling me that I should frog this, and I should use the Spin Cycle Dream State in another project where I'm really going to let it shine and appreciate it. Maybe I'll make it in a tessellated again, but with a different main color. So let me know your thoughts. Why do you think this yarn is so terrible. And yeah, let me know if you would do anything different. But as it stands, I'm pretty sure I'm going to frog this one. Okay, this one's a really pretty one. All right, this is the Alpine Tweed by Jared Flood. It's an older pattern that's in a book, The Knitter's Handy Book of Top-Down Sweaters by Ann Budd. I'll put that title in the description box below. But yeah, this is kind of like an old-fashioned looking pattern. It has set-in sleeves, colorwork just at the yoke, and then there is options to have it kind of at your cuffs and at the hem of the sweater. So I'm using Brooklyn Tweed Shelter, an undyed superwash merino, and my very own hand spun merino, which this is the first time that I'm knitting with hand spun yarn, so it's kind of special to me. But I loved the way that these colors looked together. I'll show you a swatch. Here's my swatch. Isn't it just so pretty? I really, really love the look of this kind of tealy blue with this cognac brown, I guess. Yeah, and I love the flower motif. I think it's really cute. So my gauge swatch was pretty much on. I don't know if I paid attention to the row gauge though. I think I was just going for stitch gauge and I was like, yep, check, it works, let's cast it on. So I got the yoke done in the cardigan. I'll hold it up for you. This is the back. Here's the front. It's a little hard to see, it's all kind of wonky. And I actually took out the needles to use in another project. But it's pretty rustic yarn, so it's holding its place. It's not like totally unraveling. Anyways, so my issue with this was because the row gauge was off, I was doing the colorwork motif and the armhole was getting too deep. So in the pattern, the colorwork motif is actually supposed to be like within the armhole, and then you start doing your increases. So this was just getting way too deep, so I kind of fudged it and started doing increases a little bit in the colorwork. I don't know if you can see that kind of curve happening there. So the colorwork has increases and then also back into the main color. Even still, after fudging it and doing that, when I tried it on, I just felt like the armholes were too deep, and this isn't blocked either. Like I know it's going to relax and grow, and I kind of feel like the shoulder width is a little too big also. I'll show you footage of me trying it on and you can let me know what you think. But because it's a set-in sleeve design, like it's supposed to be a little bit more fitted, and I feel like with the shoulders being over my my true shoulder here, I feel like it's just going to look like it doesn't fit, like it's too big, with the shoulders being too big and then the armholes being gapy too. So yeah, I just feel like it's a little too big. I would be interested in trying to just make this smaller, like maybe going down a size or two so that it would still work, and knit the same sweater. I think that it's such a pretty design. But my other thoughts have been, well, what if I use this yarn in another project, like the Lume sweater by Sari Nordlund. It has a similar kind of flower motif, but hers is typically shown just with two colors. So it has the main color and then the contrast color in the flowers. And I do really like how the blue kind of just like stands out against the white there. I don't know how it would be if I just had brown as the main color and then the blue as the flowers in the Lume cardigan. But that's a thought of mine. Yeah, I'm kind of undecided on this. Again, let me know what you think. Should I keep going on this? Do you think that the size would be okay? Or is it just truly too big? Should I make this same pattern again, but make it fit? Or should I consider something totally new? All right, let's go on to the next project. This is Camisole number 9 by My Favorite Things Knitwear. I made this, I can't remember if it was last summer or the summer before. I nearly finished. All I have left is the bottom hem. And then I realized that I didn't really like the scratchy yarn. I found it a little too itchy, so I just stuck it in a bag and stuck it in the closet and haven't looked at it since. But this is beautiful yarn, so I feel like I should reuse it. So I'll tell you a little bit about this project. It's using Ovis Etc. yarn, which is the base is Igne, which is a fingering weight, basically a sock yarn. It's 60% wool, 20% rami, 20% silk. The color is confetti charcoal. So yeah, it's a sock yarn, and you can kind of tell like that itchy, grippy, hardy wool for socks isn't that great in a negative ease summer knit. Yeah, whenever I put this on, I felt like it was just a little too itchy, especially against my chest. Yeah, the fibers just really bothered me. So it kind of kills me to have to rip this all apart, but I know that I'm not going to wear this as is. It's just extremely uncomfortable. And then another thing that I didn't love is there's a bit of flashing going on when it's knit in the round. So you can see the portions that are knit flat at the top here, this is knit flat. The little kind of creamy bits are just randomly kind of speckled throughout, and I like that look. But as you go down here, it starts to get this like swirly galaxy looking kind of look to it, especially in the front here. Here. Yeah, this section here, you can kind of just start seeing like that swirl happening, and I don't love it. It kind of reminds me of school photo backgrounds from the 90s. Remember how there was one with like lasers? And then I feel like there was another one that was just like stars in the galaxy. And that's what I feel like this is giving, and I'm not here for it. That's not what I want in a little summer tank. So unfortunately, I think that this one is going to have to be frog, and I'm going to have to repurpose the yarn. But yeah, it just really kills me because this was a long project. It's knit on 3mm needles, so there's hundreds of stitches that you're just knitting, knitting, knitting. But then the armbands are knit on, I think it's 2mm needles, and you pick up hundreds of stitches. You knit whatever twice the width of this is, and then you fold it down, and then you actually duplicate stitch or like seam it down on top of that. So the pattern's beautiful. The finishing touches are just so clean and so nice. But yeah, it's kind of a tragedy to have to rip it all out and yeah, get rid of all those hours of work. But I know that I'm not going to wear this as it is. So my thoughts are to frog this and then use the sock yarn for what it probably is intended for and just knit socks. I've got 2 skeins of it, so I'd probably make myself and my husband each a pair of socks. We could have his and hers galaxy socks, which, yeah, I think this would look a lot better on the feet rather than on my body. Let me know if you have any suggestions or if you would do something different. What would you use 2 skeins of sock yarn for that, yeah, really isn't comfortable to be next to skin? All right, my final one is actually not a WIP. It's a finished object. This is the Vacation Vest by, I think her name is Park Williams. And I knit this maybe 2 years ago. It was actually the same time that I was making the Camisole number 9. So yeah, I love the pattern. I think that it's just a really cool, like easy breezy pattern, but I think my yarn choice was just not the best for this. So this is using just a vintage yarn that my mom gave me. It's cotton. It's a 2-ply that's kind of slubby, so there's obviously white and black, and they've got little kind of like nubs or slubs in them. So yeah, it makes a neat looking fabric, but I feel like it's just a little too busy for the vest. It's kind of reminds me of like television static. And I've found it really hard to style because it is so busy. So yeah, I think that the vacation vest looks beautiful, but it would be probably easier to wear if it was just in like a solid neutral color and then could match with whatever I'm wearing. Whereas this is kind of like the statement piece. It's a little too busy for me. So my thoughts for this were I have a little bit more yarn in stash. So I could just frog this and use that other yarn and make a baby sweater or a kid sweater. I feel like the marled would look kind of cute on a kid sweater. And what I'm envisioning is like this tiny little pop of color at the neck and maybe at the cuffs of the sleeves, just like the bind off edge in like a bright red against this. I think that would be super cute, and yeah, look cute on a little kid. So that's my thoughts. Another idea would be to make dishcloths. It's cotton yarn. Pearl Soho has a ton of free patterns for like pot mats, dishcloths, dish towels, and so I could just make something out of this from one of those patterns. But I think that I'm a little bit more excited about the kid sweater. So again, let me know if you would do something different. Yeah, how would you use this vintage cotton yarn? What would you make with it? Well, thank you so much for watching me decide what I should be doing with these projects, how I should move forward, what I should do with the yarn. And I look forward to hearing from you in the comments on your suggestions and ideas. I'm sure there's things that I haven't thought of. So yeah, I'd love to hear from you. And again, if you like videos like these, please be sure to subscribe so that you don't miss out on any future videos that I might release. And until next time, happy knitting. Hope you have a wonderful day.